Hey y'all, welcome back to Bartle Homestead. Today I'm in the kitchen and I'm going to be showing you guys one of my favorite summertime treats, fermented pickles. There's no canning, no vinegar in any of this process. It's just old-fashioned, gut-friendly, probiotic-rich goodness made with just salt, water, and thyme. If you've never tried lacto-fermented vegetables before, you are in for a treat because you are going to be so surprised at how simple it is. So why fermented pickles instead of just a vinegar pickle? While I do still love the vinegar pickle and we do still make them during the summer, fermented pickles has a special place in my heart. I like to have so many probiotic-rich things coming out of our house and our farmhouse in the summer because it's so good for your gut. So if you can make something that's great tasting and good for your gut, it's a win-win. Fermentation uses the natural bacteria that is found on the vegetable. Lactobacillus is what the name of it is, if you want to get scientific. Lactobacillus will use the sugar that is in the vegetable and turn it into a lactic acid. This lactic acid is what is going to preserve your food and give it that really good tang that a lot of fermented vegetables have. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you how I make fermented pickles using the cucumbers from our garden and the dill from our garden with a couple of different spices and herbs, salt and water, and a half-gallon old pickle jar container. And if you don't have one of those, you can use just a regular half-gallon ball mason jar or just pretty much any glass container that you have that will fit a good amount of cucumbers in it.
To start, we're going to take our fresh pickling cucumbers and let them start soaking in an ice water bath. This will make sure that they are good and firm before we start the fermentation process. For the size jar that we are going to be using, a half-gallon mason jar, I would say somewhere between 15 and 20 pickling cucumbers would be the best, probably closer to 20. For all of the other ingredients that you will need in order to make these pickles, I have listed them below in the description. So here you'll see that I'm trying to show you the difference between the stem end and the blossom end. So this end right here is the stem end and that is the blossom end. And what we are going to be doing is cutting off the blossom end. And this is going to make sure that your brine gets into your pickles, but also make sure that the pickles stay nice and firm. While the cucumbers are still chilling in that ice water bath, we're going to now make our brine. I'll take a quart-sized jar and fill it with our filtered water and add 2 tablespoons of good salt. The salt that I'm using is not in the background, that kosher salt. That has anti-caking agents in it and will not be good for your ferment. I used a Celtic sea salt and I'm just mixing it into the water to make our brine. We're going to be getting together our herbs and spices to be put into the jar that we're going to be fermenting into. Here you can see the garlic that I have already with the skins off. I'm actually cutting them in half. This just makes sure that the garlic really infuses into the pickle brine. And as you can see, I have a lot of garlic. We really like the garlic around here. I also picked some fresh dill straight from our garden. If you don't have access to this, you can definitely find it in the fresh produce section at your grocery store or check and see if a local nearby farm might be growing some. I then picked some grape leaves from our grape arbor. These have tannins in them and will help keep the pickles stay nice and crunchy. Now we are ready to assemble our ferment. In a clean half-gallon mason jar, you're going to place your whole spices at the bottom. I didn't do that in this video and you can definitely learn from my mistake. I put them in later, but the reason for putting your whole spices in first is so that they don't float to the top later. So once your whole spices are at the bottom, then you'll add in your fresh dill, your garlic, onions, and turmeric if you're using it. I prefer to use turmeric. I like the added benefit and also it kind of helps color the pickles a little bit to make them look more like you would in a store, I suppose. With the cucumber standing vertically along the jar, you are then going to take clean hands and pack 1 layer of cucumbers tightly at the bottom of the jar. Now is when we would add our bay leaf, and you were putting it in between the 2 layers of cucumbers so that it sandwiches the bay leaves down and they don't rise to the top. The bay leaf is not only for flavor but also produces tannins like this grape leaf, so it'll help keep your cucumbers nice and crisp during the pickling process. So if you don't have access to grape leaves, don't fret, just use the bay leaf. But if you do have the grape leaf, go ahead and add it now and stick it to the side of the jar. Then we can begin our second layer of cucumbers, stacking them vertically just like we did with the first ones. Make sure all of your ingredients in your jar are pushed down nice and tight so there's at least 1.5 inches between the top of the jar and the top of the cucumbers. Then we're going to take that saltwater brine that we made before and pour that over all of the cucumbers and the herbs and spices. Make sure to keep the cucumbers below the brine, but still keeping that same space between the top of the jar and the top of the brine, so 1.5 inches. The point of having your vegetables under the brine is to make sure that mold doesn't form. So to assist with this, we're going to add a fermentation weight. I have a pinch bowl that fits perfectly in the opening of my jar, so that's what I'll be using. You can also get fermentation weights off Amazon or use a plastic bag filled with water. You're also going to cover the top with some kind of cloth or a paper towel and a rubber band. This makes sure that bugs don't get attracted to your ferment. Once we have this covered, you're then going to take your fermenting pickles and put them into a nice, cool, dark location. Make sure to put something underneath your jar just in case it does bubble over. I like to put mine inside my laundry room sink and it works perfectly. Your ferment should be ready in 5 days and producing lots of bubbles. I forgot to mention that we like to add vinegar and salt after it is done fermenting because we like a vinegary, salty pickle. So I will add 1/4 cup of vinegar and another tablespoon of salt to our fermented pickles.
So that's it, your crash course on how to make fermented pickles. As you can see, we've already really dug into this jar. I've been keeping it in our outside refrigerator, and when my boys are outside playing in this hot summer weather, they've been able to go into that outside fridge, grab a cold pickle as a snack, and it has been wonderful. If you found this video helpful, I just ask that you like and subscribe this video. And if you have made fermented veggies before, let me know down below, or let me know what veggie you think I should ferment next. Thank you so much for watching today. I'll see you next time. Oh my God.